guys, this is Shihab and today we will learn about the ISO and white balance. So first of all, let's talk about the ISO. What is actually ISO? ISO is the digital sensitivity of your camera sensor. So back in the film days we had films with fixed ISOs, like some Fuji films had 400 ISO, some had 800 ISO. So you had different kinds of films with different ISOs. You can definitely see the numbers, how much ISO this particular film has, which is written somewhere in the box of the film or in the body of the film. So back in those days we didn't have any digital cameras like DSLRs or mirrorless. So back in the days we only had SLRs, single lens reflex, but now we have a DSLR, which stands for digital single lens reflex. So definitely we have a digital sensor inside our mirror. So today in digital sensors we can set our desired ISO depending on the lightings of your surroundings. So after setting up your aperture and shutter speed, now it's time to set up your ISO. If you haven't seen my aperture and shutter speed video, definitely watch those. I'll put the cards over here or here somewhere. So ISO determines how sensitive your sensor will be for the light. The more ISO you go, the brighter your image gets. But in digital sensors, there is a caveat in going so far in the ISO, which is noise. So much on ISO, like ISO 600, ISO 6400, 12800, then the image will be garbage because the image will be filled with noise. So how much ISO is the optimal ISO? So number one rule is try to keep it as low as possible. First, set up your shutter speed, set up your aperture, and then you set up your ISO depending on the lighting scene. So if it's outdoor and bright sunny day, 100 ISO is enough. If it's cloudy day, maybe 200 to 500 ISO. By the way, also this number depends on your shutter speed and aperture, so keep that in mind. But it really suffers in low light or the nighttime shootings. So in low light, maybe you can go if you have a APS-C size DSLR like 70D, 80D, 700D, 650D or 800D. Maximum for photos, I will say try to keep it below 3200. If you really need, then go 6400, but not more than that, otherwise your image will be garbage. For full frame, you can go beyond 6400, like 12800 and so on. These are for photos, but for videos, I will say if you are a user of a Canon Rebel series or Canon APS-C size series cameras like the 700, 800, 70, 80, 70, not 6D. 6D and 5D is full frame sensor. Anyway, then you have to keep your ISO inside 1600. So if you're in the video, keep it inside 1600. Right now I'm shooting with the A6300. This camera has some good sensor and image processing is good, so I can go like 6400. But always I will try to keep the ISO as low as possible. Maybe if I'm shooting in the night time, I'll put some 2 extra light in the both corners. I'll put some extra lighting around my subject so that I can able to use low ISO. So these are some common rules. You will get to know more when you are playing around with your cameras. Now let's talk about white balance. White balance is basically, as it sounds, balancing your white. So if you balance your white point, all the other colors will be balanced automatically. So for photos, it's not a big deal, because if you are shooting raw photos, which most DSLR gives you. So by the way, if you are shooting JPEG in your DSLR, I will highly recommend you to shoot in RAW, because you can do a lot of changes after the fact. So if you're shooting RAW, you can always change your white balance amount, which is written on Kelvin, like 4000 Kelvin, 5200 Kelvin, 6000 Kelvin. This is my rules. If I am in outdoor sunlight in sunny environment, I will keep my white balance between 5200 to 6000. If it's a really shady, overcast day outside, then maybe I will go around 7000. And in this scenario I am shooting with 4000 ISO right now on my Sony a6300. So if you're shooting photos and shooting in RAW, then this won't be a big problem, because you can capture in whatever white balance you want, and then you can always change the setting in the Lightroom without losing any kind of detail or quality. So that's the great advantages of shooting in RAW. But if you're shooting videos, entry level or consumer level cameras, which is essentially a photo camera but also gives you the capability of shooting some great videos. But this Canon camera or Sony camera does not shoot in RAW. They only shoot in for MP4, MOV. Different cameras shoot in different formats, but the main factor here is all the footages are already compressed, so those are not raw footages. If you want to shoot a raw footage, you need a camera that is capable of shooting in raw video, like Red Epic or Arri Alexa. So one pro tip for you guys, if you are shooting photos, always shoot at 5000 Kelvin in white balance, and always shoot in RAW. Then if you need to change your white balance a little bit to adjust your skin tone, you can always do so in your Lightroom software. For photos, I won't worry much about my white balance as long as it looks good on my LCD when I'm previewing them. But for videos, especially in those entry level or consumer level cameras, definitely set your white balance before pressing the record button. Feel free to share this video with your friends, because they also might be interested in learning about photography. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, definitely do so, because subscribing is great. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Stay tuned, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next one.